I'm a PhD student in Sandy Pentland's group, Human Dynamics. I'm from the Netherlands. I studied physics before bachelor and master, and then at MIT I transitioned to this field of computational social science. One of the projects that I've been working on at MIT is this project called Data for Refugees, where we use mobile phone records to try to analyze their integration dynamics. And we did this together with a Turkish telecom operator, as well as with UNHCR, so the UN Refugee Organization, and with local refugee organizations, so that we're sure that we have everyone on board. But monitoring and tracking always sounds a bit scary, and it can be, right? So one thing that we sort of focused a lot on is how you can do this in a privacy-preserving way. So we also agreed with the telecom operator that all the records are anonymized. We only get 2 weeks of records at the time. Some of the labels are randomized. So we did all these steps to make sure that we can never really infer a single person's whereabouts, but at the same time that we still statistically can say a lot about the collective. The nice thing about statistics is that as long as these kind of patterns are random, then you can still infer a lot about a person. The more short-term vision is that we want to understand integration better. For example, if you want refugees to be socially integrated, do they then also need to be spatially integrated, right? So in other terms, does urban segregation lead to sort of also social segregation, right? And does this depend on different cities? So for example, what we saw is that these dynamics are different in Istanbul than in the southeast of Turkey, than in Ankara, than on the coast. So these already provide sort of important and new and interesting insights to social scientists who can then try to understand sort of more of the underlying dynamics. The long-term vision is if you can have sort of a privacy-preserving way of constantly observing these dynamics so that you can do as a country or as a refugee organization, you can implement a certain policy so that you can really infer a causal relationship. If I do intervention A, then social integration gets better or gets worse. And on top of that you can sort of measure how these things keep developing over time. One of the things that the projects did is that it really shows the richness of this kind of data. On top of sort of looking at refugee dynamics, there are other groups who look at pollution in cities. You can look at climate change refugees. You can observe how people move around after disasters, natural disasters. So we really hope that in the future this mobile phone data sort of becomes common good, and that NGOs, governments can all rely on this data to have a much better sort of view on what people are doing and how you can improve different parts of society. So moving forward, I'm working more on sort of the implications that these data-driven systems have on things like privacy, on fairness, right? So if we would live in a world, and we're going to soon, where these systems are sort of automatically making decisions about people in different parts of the world, it's very important that someone both audits these decisions. Is privacy taken into account? Are these decisions fair with respect to different sort of sensitive attributes or subgroups? So these are topics that really excite me research-wise and where there are a lot of open questions still.